Tonight's big stories, Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong rails against corruption at a Philippine National Police event. His point, why do politicians still have pork barrel while military and uniformed personnel are being asked to shoulder their own pension?
Headline: inflation further decelerated in June, registering its lowest rate in 15 months. Is the worst over? We'll speak with BPI lead economist June Neri about this.
And scientists say that Monday, July 3 was the hottest day ever recorded on Earth. And with the El Nino, experts are warning of even hotter days ahead.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Riza Diaz.
And I'm Sean Yao.
Straight into our top story tonight, Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong railed against corruption in local politics in a speech at the awarding of the PNP personnel, which is a rare off-script rant for him. Magalong first lamented the ballooning national debt. In his speech, he said, "Nakakalungkot our debt because our debt is now at 13.86 trillion pesos."
Ang ibig sabihin niyan, each and every Filipino, kapapanganak pa lang, may utang na 113,000 pesos.
The mayor went on to say that when he was asked to speak at an event with other mayors and governors, they showed little interest when he started talking about good governance.
I start talking about traditional politics. I start talking about corruption and its direct correlation with poverty. And when I start doing that, they also start looking at their cell phones.
Well, not only that, but he also insinuated the rampant corruption in local government.
May porsyento na nga sila. Sila pa yung contractor. Sila pa rin yung supplier.
Now, Magalong also said that nobody would admit na meron pala silang pork barrel, but the fact remains that there is still pork barrel.
Nakakalungkot. Nothing have we heard from our legislators that they are willing to give up their pork barrels. Hintayin natin kung anong sasabihin ng ating mga magigiting na legislators.
Mayor Benjamin Magalong is currently in the spotlight for being a staunch defender of good governance. Let's take a step back and trace where this all came from. Benjamin Magalong graduated magna cum laude from the Philippine Military Academy back in 1982. He is now on his second term as mayor of Baguio City. Before entering politics, Magalong served in the Philippine Constabulary and later on the PNP for a combined 38 years. During this time, he led the Special Operations Battalion of the PNP Special Action Force, or SAF. He also led SAF troopers during a siege involving Abu Sayyaf members at the Camp Bagong Diwa in Taguig City back in 2001, where ASG leader Commander Robot was killed. Magalong's helmet was even hit by a bullet. Before retiring with the rank of Police Deputy Director General as the PNP's Deputy Chief for Operations, Magalong led the PNP's board inquiry on Oplan Exodus that killed 44 SAF members. He laid his career on the line to publish the report that put the responsibility for the botched Mama Sapano operations on former President Noynoy Aquino.
Now, here to talk to us more about his remarks, we have with us on the line Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong. Good evening, Mayor. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good evening, Son and Gina and Ariza.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you for joining us. I understand you're at an event. In any case, I wanted to get right to the point, which is you gave that off-script speech at the PNP event 2 days ago, actually, and I read the full transcript. I could feel your extreme frustration, and I wanted to know, where is that coming from?
Well, you know, a lot of things are happening nowadays, especially with regards to the seemingly uncontrolled corruption now in government. This hasn't been impacting, foremost, our strategic and catalytic projects, not only in the city of Baguio, but in other provinces as well, because I've been talking to several mayors, I've been talking to governors who also, manifested their frustration with regards to the uncontrolled corruption that is happening in the country. And now that we have this MUP issue affecting our retirees, then I realized that it's about time also that we have to, we have, me coming from the Philippine National Police and coming from the armed forces, we risk our life. And now we're just being, we are being criticized for not being, not contributing to our pension. But we're willing to contribute a reasonable amount. But then I realized we're doing this, but how about these politicians who have all these pork barrels? How about politicians who have been, they're getting some sort of special person privileges, getting, they have percentage, to quote, a special percentage on projects. Hindi pa sila nagsawa, may percentage na nga sila pa yung kontraktor. O kaya may percentage pa sila pa yung supplier. Hindi pa nagsawa yung iba, sila na yung percentage na, sila pa yung supplier, sila pa yung contractor. And this is very prevalent nowadays.
Mayor, are you talking about a specific example here when you're talking about the porsyento system? May pinariringnan ka po ba?
Yes, I have, yes, I have knowledge. But right now, I cannot name names, I cannot name product localities or the LGUs, but it's prevalent. And looking at our national debt now at 13.86, and we have to pay about, for interest alone, we have to pay with the recent pronouncement of a national budget of 5.26 trillion. Are you aware that out of 526 million, 583 will be paid for interest alone, and for the principal amortization, that would amount to another 1 trillion. So this will have a huge impact on the poor. It will have a huge impact on the education system, the social services, and the health services. Kailan pa, now that we had this opportunity to effect change, knowing that we are in government, we are in part of leadership in government, are we not supposed to take that opportunity and seize the moment to effect change? And that's the reason why in the city of Baguio, we're just so passionate about fighting corruption and promoting good governance.
Right. Mayor Magalong, nabanggit ninyo yung national debt natin nasa 14.1 trillion pesos na ito. I liked how you broke it down for everyone when you said kapapanganak pa lang 113,000 plus na ang utang ng bawat isa sa atin.
Yes.
Mayor, this debt has ballooned, as you rightly pointed out, in the last 6-7 years from just 5-point-something trillion naging 14 trillion na. Would you know?
13.86, yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Would you know? It's actually 14.1 na, Mayor. We fact-checked for you.
Yes, lately.
So
Yes,
mas
yes.
tumaas pa siya lalo, no? Would you know, Mayor, kung saan ba galing ito? During the pandemic, usually dyan binibintang yan eh. What can you say about this? Do you know how this balloon,
yes.
the debt balloon?
Yes, during the pandemic, national government was compelled to take a loan of about 3-point-something trillion to cover the expenses because of this pandemic, together with supporting our health workers, the vaccines. Pero kung titingnan mo, and from 5.7 to 3.2, saan pa yung gap? Ano pa yung gap? If you look at the way we're doing our budget, we're wondering why is it that, despite the fact that there's a denial that there is something like a pork barrel, but the truth of the matter is when you talk to congressmen, I have my own inside information. Pork barrels still exist, and unfortunately, billions of pesos are being managed by our legislators, and it's just hidden in the different departments.
Saan po ito
And from
nakatago? Mayor, can you tell
marami
us?
ho yan. Marami
Saan
ho yan.
siya nakasingit? Para lang alam namin, no? Kung saan kami titingin.
Isa sa pinaka-paborito nilang pinaglalagyan, DPWH.
Projects.
DPWH, yan, oh.
Mayor,
Kami nga, every time I had an opportunity to talk to the different mayors and governors, we share our frustrations, especially on substandard projects.
Mayor Magalong, hindi po ito ang unang pagkakataon that you've been very outspoken, when it comes to changing the practice implementing good governance. Sa tingin nyo ba, this would finally make an impact, especially on the congressman, to finally give up that pork barrel?
It's about time. The question is, are they prepared to give up their special perks and privileges? Somehow, sometime, somewhere, they have to stop. But alam mo, meron tinatawag na MAP. Yung acronym na MAP. Masarap ang pera.
May iba tayo ng slight, Mayor, no? Mayor, yung, of course, nabanggit ninyo yung MUP, the fact that uniformed personnel have to contribute now to their own pensions. Now, yung isang issue dito is a lot of people are saying, napaka-brave to take this step to actually put this proposal forward at the, of course, at the risk of a fiscal collapse, right? Pero would this reform actually really unsettle or cause some destabilization among the police force, among the soldiers, bilang kabaro ninyo sila?
It's just a matter of explaining it to them about sustainability. Previously, the definition of sustainability is continuously supporting a process over time. But now it's different. It's now defined as fulfilling the needs of the present times without compromising the needs of the future or future generation. No. If you look at it, hindi na siya sustainable Di ba? Later on, what is the need of the future PNP? Makikita mo ito na yung need of future PNP, but with the current trend, how can you fulfill the needs of the future PNP if you don't do anything about it, especially on yung funding, especially on capex, capitalization. So kailangan this time, baka pag hindi mo na fulfill yung needs ng future PNP, then how can you fulfill the needs of the pensioners? Wala ka na rin pera na gagamitin. So it's not sustainable. But we have to do something about it. And that's the reason why us pensioners, retirees, are willing to contribute a reasonable amount just to help government. Pero nakakalungkot lang na kami, we're doing this, pero bakit tahimik lang yung mga legislators natin? Nobody even raised hell when the news about the 13.86 trend came out. I was going over the internet para makita ko man lang sino kaya sa mga ng kaalyado ko pwede kong kausapin. Nobody except Senator Lacson. It was only Senator Lacson who's consistently raising the issue of pork barrel, which is a source of corruption among our legislators. Sino pa magsasalita? Nobody. Everybody was just so silent about it. So I have this opportunity to raise it. I'm doing it. Para lang, it's about time that we have to raise awareness that people should demand good governance from their political leaders.
Where is this gonna go, Mayor? Na-raise nyo na po. Are you going to pursue this line of questioning it? Are you gonna take it to the proper forum and maybe even name names in the future? Is that part of the plan?
Well, the plan is to create a movement on good governance. Kaya nga, if you look at my motto, my battle cry when I ran in the city of Baguio, it's good governance beyond politics. Now we're changing it into we're evolving. It will now evolve into another slogan. It's good governance and then get involved. It will become a movement. We will be able to raise awareness. People will start demanding good governance. We have to continue raising awareness on the ill effects of corruption and its correlation to poverty. We're getting a lot of support now coming from the different CSOs. I'm getting a lot of feedback coming from cooperatives, from fellow mayors who also believe in good governance.
Sorry, Mayor, can I just clarify? You're the one that's starting this movement and you're going to be leading it?
Well, somewhere, somehow, someone had to lead, and then probably the younger people will take over.
Okay. And do you think, are you going to be taking the AFP with you, the police, the military, and uniformed personnel?
Yes, the good news is they are, I would say a big number of them are behind us in advocating this movement on good governance.
All right, we're gonna have to leave the conversation there for tonight, Mayor Benjamin Magalo, but we thank you so much for your insights, and we'll check back in with you about this a little later on in the future.
And headline inflation has eased further to 5.4% in June. Is the worst over for consumers? BPI lead economist June Neri will share his insights when the big story returns. Keep it here.
You're watching the big story here on One News.
Well, some good news for consumers. Inflation, or the rate of price increases, dropped further in June to its lowest yet in 15 months. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority showed that inflation was lower at 5.4% last month compared to the 6.1% in May. During a briefing, National Statistician Dennis Mapa said June's inflation print was the lowest since April 2022. That it also marks the fifth consecutive month of slowdown this year.
Now, according to MAPA, food and non-alcoholic beverages had the largest contribution to the downtrend in June inflation. This was followed by transportation, which slowed to negative 3.1%. Now, slower price increases were also recorded in housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels.
That means that year-to-date inflation is at 7.2%, still well above the government's target range of 2 to 4%. The Bangko Sentral, meanwhile, sees average inflation for 2023 settling at 5.4%, as lower figures are expected, especially in the last quarter of this year. Economic managers, however, still see upside risks to inflation due to the El Niño's looming impact on food prices and utility rates, and upward adjustments in fares and wages.
Let's dive deeper into this June inflation rate. We have with us live via Zoom BPI lead economist June Neri. Good evening, June. It's been a while. Welcome to the big story.
Good evening to the three of you and to your viewers. Good evening also. Yeah.
Okay, so safe to say the worst is over? I mean, last year and earlier this year, pretty much all we could talk about was rising prices, rising prices, rising prices. Now we're finally seeing vegetables, meat, fuel start to come down. So are we out of the woods?
Well, so far the last 4 months have shown more manageable month-on-month increases in prices, Reg. Unlike last year where we had a streak of 11 straight months of month-on-month upticks in the CPI. So far, so good. And if we can keep this pace throughout the rest of the year, we should be on target for 2024 for headline inflation. Yes.
I just want to clarify, June, this is despite, of course, the El Nino, which has officially started here in the Philippines as of yesterday, according to Pag-asa. The PSA already sees, and the Bangko Sentral rather, sees upside risks based on this El Nino. There was also that recent 40 peso wage hike across the NCR. How do these factors play in for the rest of the year's inflation numbers?
Yes, the wage hike will start to kick in for the July figures and onwards, no? From July onwards. And then for we're actually are going to see a fair hike for the LRT for August. No? As for food and El Nino, yes, we've actually seen food prices increase in June versus May and May versus April after I think 3 straight months of decline in food prices. So one of the drivers of the increases in month-on-month food inflation could be the dry spell.
June, we are seeing good numbers, we're easing, but not as fast as our ASEAN neighbors. How do you make sense of this?
Well, first off, we came off a much higher level of 8.7%. No? So even with a drop to 5.4 in June, we're still higher than the rest of Southeast Asia, especially the major ones. I think the lowest in May was Singapore. No? So that and the fact that the peso really depreciated substantially last year, having such a wide trade and current account deficit, and the dwindling of our foreign reserves significantly contributed to this more rapid weakening of the peso. Apart from the supply problems that we encountered during the latter part of last year and early part of this year. So those two elements are quite unique to us, keeping our headline and even core numbers much higher than the rest of our neighbors.
Mm-hmm. And given these factors, what's a good number to be at before the year end?
Well, next month, if we see the wage hike having some minimal effect, it could actually fall below 5% very quickly. But from September onwards, the declines are going to be a little bit slower. So if we're lucky, by September, we should be at 4% or lower. If we're not so lucky and these negative forces, the upside risks persist, then it should come around November. No? But 4% seems to be within reach. Again, on the lucky side, if we're lucky by November, December, we should be very close to 3%. Again, barring all of these negative factors, including the weather and some other external forces. No? So oil prices have been behaving very well. If suddenly it spikes in the fourth quarter, then this could thwart the trend that I was talking about earlier. No?
Well, I always believe your forecast, June, so 3% by the end of the year. Otherwise, we're going to call you again. Thanks for joining us, BPI
Well,
lead
yeah,
economist
sure.
June Neri.
Welcome.
Sorry, we're going to pause for a quick break now. But up next, the tourism department will maintain the new slogan, Love the Philippines, despite staunch criticism over the past few days. More on that story when we return.
This is still the big story here on One News.
All right, so Love the Philippines will remain the official tourism slogan of the country. Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco confirmed this in the sidelines of a forum at the PICC earlier. Now, despite many Filipinos admitting that they do not love the new tagline, the tourism chief is standing by it. In fact, she repeated the slogan several times during her time on the podium.
Love the Philippines. We all love the Philippines. There are just so many reasons to love the Philippines.
During the event, Frasco also highlighted the continued recovery of Philippine tourism. She noted that international arrivals reached 2.7 million as of July 5. With these figures, the Secretary is hopeful that they can surpass their targets by the end of the year.
Philippine tourism is well on the road to recovery. The Philippines is back. The Philippines is open and ready to tell the world the Filipino story because there are just so many reasons to love the Philippines.
Okay, ito na. Before we go, nafe-feel nyo ba yung El Nino? Of course, hindi dito sa loob ng studio, which
Here,
is
it's like
super
the
cold.
North Pole
Oo,
here.
Pero paglabas,
Init.
ang init.
Yes.
Oo.
Oo, iba. Feeling ko may masasalubong ka ng cactus or mga camel.
Camel.
It's so hot.
Mirage,
Jesus.
ganyan,
Right.
no? Ibang level na talaga ang init. And in fact, just this Monday, the world has experienced its hottest day ever recorded. But experts warn that this is only the beginning. The average global temperature hit over 17 degrees Celsius on July 3rd as heat waves sizzled around the world. That actually surpassed the August 2016 record of 16.9 degrees Celsius. The southern U.S. has been suffering under an intense heat dome in recent weeks, and in China, an enduring heat wave is still ongoing, while North Africa has also seen higher temperatures. Scientists said that climate change combined with El Niño patterns are to blame. Experts are warning, though, that this could just be the first in a series of new record temperatures set this year.
Really getting hot in here. Not here. Here it's the North Pole, but
Here
outside.
on Earth. Here on Earth.
Here on Earth, yes, where we all live.
And that's all the time we have for the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in and have a good night.